Alright, so some of you guys might have already seen this before, some of you guys might not have, but I decided to do the most genius idea I've ever done and combine my 2024 AFL mock draft picks 1 through 10 video with my picks 11 through 20 video, combine them into one and present to you guys my official 2024 AFL mock draft picks 1 through 20. Again, it took me such a long time to edit this video, man. Like, I've been sitting there on my couch. My dog has been, like, bugging me, wanting to walk. And I've just kind of, like, bitch slapped him every time and said, man, I've got AFL fans to please their ears with my majestic voice and talk to about what team will stalk a 17-year-old to add to their list and hopefully win a flag in the next couple of years. I don't know. Where am I going with this intro? But again, if you haven't already, there's still a decent amount of you guys who watch these videos who are not yet subscribed to the channel. So if you could do me a favor and, you know, leave a like and subscribe, because as I said, man, it's taken me so many hours to edit these videos. You know, I could have been on bloody Tinder scrolling for baddies trying to find my future wife. But no, I am right here doing what I love more, and that is, yeah, I don't know. Just, I hope you guys enjoy the video. The first overall pick, the team that stunk absolute doo-doo in 2024 to the point where people were almost putting their Richmond memberships in the microwave and jumping off the 4th row of the MCG. And I'm a Richmond fan, so I know, but at pick 1, I think in the last mock draft, I originally had Jagger Smith. I'm actually going to be taking the guy who a lot of people have said has moved up to the number 1 projections, and a lot of sources have said that Richmond are extremely interested in taking, and that does happen to be Sam Lawler out of the Greater Western Victoria Rebels. 187 centimeter midfield slash forward. You know, the way he plays look extremely similar to Richmond's arguably greatest player of all time, but he's got the exact same height and pretty much the exact same body as what Dusty, of course, has now, which is kind of sus to be saying about a 17-year-old, but you know, here we are. Again, is he 17? He might be 18. I might not be sus here. He's an extremely athletic, strong, big-bodied midfield who is really hard to get tackled, but also has something that I think Richmond are really lacking, and that is leadership. And obviously just ball use in the inside 50. Again, watching Richmond play, you've got Tim Taranto and Jacob Hopper butchering the ball 888 times in that midfield, and if they're not turning it over, Dion Prestia's dislocating a hamstring or something out the back while the play is going on. They just need a guy in there as well who can use the ball, which Sam Lawler has a great ability to do. And if the guy gets tired, he has an ability and a power to go rest down forward, which is an extremely rare thing to find in players, especially those who are young. You could play him as a high half forward or even rest him as a full forward. This guy is the complete package who may not be the best in the draft yet, but I think definitely has the most potential pretty much nearly out of all of these players at the time of making this video. He, again, I think could be absolutely insane, and I've never ever compared a player to Dusty in the draft before, and I usually get angry when people do so, but this guy's got like Dustin Martin written all over him, and I think that's why Richmond will take him with the first overall pick. Now, with the second overall pick, I believe the North Melbourne Football Club will be selecting Levi Ashcroft, which will be getting matched by the Brisbane Lions. Of course, Levi Ashcroft being the son of Marcus Ashcroft, a brilliant Brisbane player who won, obviously, bulk premierships. Now his son has joined that and not only won a premiership in, you know, Will Ashcroft, but it won the Norm Smith. And now you've got the younger brother coming in Levi, who I think most people think is the best player in this draft. The 179 centimeter inside midfielder who not only is a clearance beast, but this guy can play on the outside too. Like, I've seen Ashcroft, you know, let some of those other bigger bodied midfielders go in and get the ball out and get a clearance, and he gets the ball and then obviously uses his prolific ball skills to deliver it to a forward or deliver it to another player on the team. And you obviously think that's all impressive, but then he can actually be the guy that goes in and gets the clearance and dominates in the inside. He's also got a really good ability to be able to kick a nice goal. Again, watching him play against the Dandenong Stingrays, I think in like the prelim of the Talent League, was insane. And the fact that the Premiership team gets arguably the best player in the draft, it really does hurt my feelings. But of course, now that North Melbourne have the 3rd overall pick, I actually think they're going to go for Harvey Langford, who has jumped up to the number 3 on the Phantom projection, and that's where I do believe he will be going. Again, Harvey Langford is much different to Levi Ashcroft, a little bit more like Sam Lawler. Again, we know if Richmond don't take Lawler at 1, they'll probably take him at 2, but the reason they're interested in Lawler and, you know, obviously Langford is because they're looking for a big-bodied midfielder that can not only play in the midfield, but go down forward. Again, we've seen Harvey Langford have the ability to rest as kind of like a full forward or a high half forward, play both roles really well, and then when needed to, go on the midfield and dominate. He's a really good inside ball winner who, again, I know a lot of people will say they've already got a tall, big body in Luke Davies-Uniacke there, but I think they have a really good chance here to add another one. And I know teams don't often do that unless it's Carlton with like Matt Kennedy and Patrick Cripps, previously Will Setterfield, etc. But I think North can have 2 here. And if it's not working out at one time and maybe it looks a bit slow, Langford can go and play forward. And that's a really nice ability he has as a 190 centimeter inside midfielder. Again, he's got star level written all over him with his size, presence, and versatility to, of course, impact on the contest. Really good inside midfielder when it comes to clearance work and ball winning, but also can go down forward. What more do you want? I think that's actually, it's a good pick by them. And then again, at pick 4, we've got Carlton now, who are a surprise team who traded up. I believe they traded up to try and get Finn O'Sullivan. I think when the rumours were coming out that Richmond would be passing on O'Sullivan at 1, it looks like, at the time making this video, to potentially go for Lawler, I think Carlton realised, hold on, we can get a really nice inside midfielder here who is arguably the best in the competition, who's a 182 centimetre player that has one of the craziest verticals I've ever seen. Like, this guy has taken some phenomenal marks at the draft combine. He led, I think, the verticals out of like most of the players and really showed how good he was there. He's got good speed, good ball winning. The only 2 issues I think that Finn O'Sullivan has about his game is injuries are a big one. He's had a lot of injuries as of late, which may scare Carlton fans, obviously. And he has never really been the big disposal winner. But I think with Carlton having Patrick Cripps and Sam Walsh as your big disposal winners, Finn O'Sullivan would fit nicely into that team so well. It's just a guy who can come in and use the prolific disposal that he has, be an athletic, really good type of player who, again, just can add some more craft and dynamic to what that Carlton midfield is, which has previously been, you know, called too slow and too tall. You now bring in a really quick, athletic inside midfielder who is known for his ball use. Again, I think that's why Carlton really made the jump up to this pick to get Finn O'Sullivan. Again, with the 5th overall pick, I've got the Adelaide Crows actually selecting a homegrown player in Sid Draper. Again, is Sid Draper the best at this pick? Some people would say yes, some people would say no. But the thing is, with teams like, you know, non-Victorian teams drafting certain Victorians, having the worry of them go home, but Adelaide might also look to just bring home a South Australian instead of Victorian to know that that Victorian won't request a trade back home. So Sid Draper could be that guy. I think he's the best ranked South Australian product here. A really good inside midfielder who is also quick. Again, unlike the previous players, he's not a guy who can really go down forward. That's not really what his game is about. But I think he adds, again, a lot of quickness and a lot of agility to that Adelaide midfield, which has also been kind of critiqued for being pretty slow and, I think, one-dimensional. A guy like Sid Draper can now join, obviously, James Peatling and Isaac Cumming potentially on the wing, as well as Alex Neil-Bullen chipping in the midfield. That creates a much more dynamic piece that is not just slow players like Rory Laird, Matt Crouch, Jordan Dawson. You're now adding some speed in there, like a guy like Sid Draper, who I think would fit quite comfortably. He's a good inside midfielder when it comes to ball winning, clearance work. His disposal is pretty nice. His speed's good, and his agility's good. But again, as mentioned earlier, he's not like the other midfielders that I've previously mentioned who can pretty much all go forward and kick a goal. That's not really what his main game is. It's not to say that he couldn't, but also another thing with Sid Draper is he's had a lot more mature competition he's played against, being a CNFL player, while most of the players I've just talked about are under 18s players. Again, this guy, he took that next step and played in the CNFL and played against full-grown men who are really good at what they do. And we've seen sometimes when players do that, they're able to convert over to the AFL a little bit better, which a team like Adelaide, who are trying to push for the 8, may be really wanting to see. Again, with the 6th overall pick, we've got Melbourne, and I think they're going to get an absolute steal with this selection. I believe the guy I had at pick 1 previously in Jagger Smith could fall all the way to this 6th overall pick for Melbourne. Again, what more could you want from Jagger Smith? He has done absolutely everything, dominated for Richmond in the VFL, while also being an extremely good, prolific ball winner for Oakley. The guy has Zach Butters written all over him as a comparison, and I think Melbourne could really use that, considering Clayton Oliver has requested a trade for the last 2 years, and Petrarca will probably have to play a lot more forward next year because of his injury, and again, could be on the move as well. They're definitely going to be looking to bring in an inside midfielder, not only to maybe replace those guys down the line if they do decide to move, but also a guy who I think could very well fit in and play with them if they do decide to go long term. Again, Jagger Smith is arguably the best player in the draft class, and I can see why a lot of people would have him at 1. The only thing is he did not do that great at the combine from what I know, and the knock on him is that the reports are saying he can't actually kick over 40 meters, but considering the guy is one of the skinniest players I've ever seen in top of a draft, I'm sure a bit of strength and conditioning and some gym work could get this guy into having much more stronger and powerful legs and a bit of coaching and technique to be able to kick longer. So I don't see that as a massive issue, but I definitely know a lot of teams do, and that's why he has slid on a lot of people's boards, and his disposal can sometimes not be as damaging as the others. But end of the day, he's like the best ball winner by far in this draft class. Just dominates it and gets so much of it. It is crazy. Like, again, he did it in the VFL against grown men and grown competition for Richmond, and yeah, was dominating. So I've no doubt he can convert to AFL. And a team like Melbourne who's looking to contend maybe and try and get back in the 8, yeah, it's a match made in heaven. Of course, the next one, we've got Richmond at pick number 7. And I did have them at one stage taking a midfielder here, but I'm actually going to change my pick and have them selecting Harry Armstrong, who is the number 1 ranked key forward in this draft class. Again, I was sitting there thinking for a second. I was just saying, Lafau's probably going to be out for the first half of the year if the rumors are true, recovering from that ACL. Lynch will probably play 2 games like he does every year. Richmond really only have Jacob Kaczynski there in the forward line, and I just think with how badly Richmond need a key forward, are they going to let the best key forward in this draft class go to a different team? I don't think they're going to be really wanting him to do that. Again, when it does come to Harry Armstrong, he's a 195 centimeter tall, really athletic key forward who can definitely take a nice mark and kick a good goal. He stands out by far as the best key forward, and again, playing with Sandringham, he just won another premiership with that team, and of course Levi Ashcroft, proving that he's a winner, and every game he pretty much stood up to the challenge for the most part and was able to play really well. So I think a team like Richmond, who was absolutely desperately looking for a key forward, they got to probably take one here, and I think Harry Armstrong is the best available. Now, with the 8th overall pick, we have Josh Smiley to the St Kilda Football Club, the tall inside midfielder that some people compare to Patrick Cripps. Again, at one stage, he was ranked to go pick number 1 to Richmond, which obviously was months and months ago now. He's fallen down a little bit and was one of the few players who didn't go and play for Richmond in the VFL to prove that, to try and be number 1. But he's a 194 centimeter inside midfielder, previously being compared to Patrick Cripps, the 2-time Brownlow medalist. I mean, St Kilda, who are desperately looking for an inside midfielder right now, definitely like a couple at this rate. You can get a really big-bodied guy in there who is the same height pretty much as the guy Richmond are taking as the new full forward for their team. That's how tall this freaking man is. Like, it's crazy to see. I think he can come in there and really dominate and add some nice clearance work to them as well. And yeah, he can at sometimes. Not as good as some of the other guys, but he has been known to be able to rest forward. And I mean, why wouldn't he be able to? He's 194 centimeters. But of course, at pick number 9 as well, St Kilda as well, I've got them taking Murphy Reid, who some people think could literally go 1. Some people literally have this guy going 1. He's all over the place on the mock boards. I've seen some guys have him at 13. I mean, I've got him at 9 here, but I could very well see Richmond taking him at 6, or even a team like Adelaide taking him at, 5 at this rate. That's just the reality of things. He's a 180 centimeter inside midfielder forward who can also play on the outside. Like, I think he could actually be a really good wing in the AFL, but where I think teams really like Murphy Reid is his ball use and his ability to be able to execute the disposal. A very nice, clean player who is not the clearance guy, but more of the guy who gets the ball off the dude that gets the clearance and then, capitalizes on it with the disposal. So I think if St Kilda can add Josh Smiley at 8, the big inside midfielder clearance guy, and then they take the guy at 9 who Josh Smiley's passing it to again, execute the disposal in Murphy Reid, that's a really good pairing. And Murphy Reid can also rest down forward or even play as a small forward is what I'm more trying to say. I think this is a good pick or two by St Kilda here, and they desperately need midfielders. This completely changes their midfield and makes it really younger, so it may take some time for them to get used to, but it definitely helps out, Jack Steele, who's just lost Brad Crouch, who I don't even know if he's ever going to play again, and the other St Kilda midfielders in there, which is not that good. Of course, we've also got now pick 10 to the Melbourne Football Club, where I've actually got them selecting Alex Taru, who is a half-back, has played some forward here and there as well, but some people think can leap in the draft. He's actually grown to 193 centimeters. I think with his growth spurt has even played as now a tall defender. He really can go everywhere. I think at the start he was playing some halfback, but now he plays as a fourth defender, kind of like Charlie Ballard kind of role as well. He does a lot of different things, and my mate who plays in the Stingrays said he actually got moved up forward onto him too. So him as a backman had to play on him up forward, which was a challenging thing too. He thought he was pretty difficult to play against. I think, considering this guy won the running vertical test at 94 centimeters, he ran 3 seconds in the 20-meter sprint and 6 minutes 36 in the 2-kilometer time trial is, absolutely insane. This guy is a freak athletically and a really good fit athlete who I think Melbourne, considering they are probably going to be looking to add to their, defense now that they've done a couple of different things and moved a couple pieces around. Unfortunately, Angus Brayshaw retiring. They're probably going to be looking for a halfback and another defender. So we'll see how he goes. Now at 193 centimeters, will he be that running halfback? I'm not sure, but considering how quick he was, and we've seen the stats, he's 2-kilometer and he's 20 meter. Jesus, this dude is so quick still. So if he can play as both roles as like a third, fourth tall defender, but also be a running type. I mean, watch out. It'd be a great pick for the Melbourne Football Club. With pick number 11, we do have the Richmond Football Club, and I've actually got them selecting Xavier Lindsay, who is actually ranked number 16. The reason I believe this midfielder out of Gippsland, the 183 centimeter mid, is ranked number 16 is because he has actually struggled with a fair bit of injuries. Again, I did believe he missed the final series due to a PCL knee injury, and then missed some of the combine with a hip injury as well, I believe. Again, he's had a rough couple of months, but before that, I think he'd had a relatively good history. And the thing is, if Richmond can get him off the injuries and get his body right, this guy's a midfielder who has the easy ability to be able to average a big number of disposals. For example, he did average over 23 disposals per game this most recent season with Gippsland, and actually claimed the Morrish Medal in the Coates Talent League for best player. Again, this is seriously a really good midfielder who has, I think, fallen down in the draft ranks just because of his injuries. But with the Tigers really looking for new midfielders, and, you know, of course, I've had them taking Sam Lawler, who's a mid forward, and Harry Armstrong previously, a key forward. I think it's now time for them to take a natural inside midfielder, and that's why I've got them taking, of course, Xavier Lindsay. Now, with the 12th overall pick, I do have the Richmond Football Club selecting Leo Lombard from the Gold Coast Suns Academy and getting matched by the Gold Coast Suns. So obviously, this is a Suns player who the Suns have the rights to, arguably a player who some out there actually believe could be one of the best in this whole entire draft. He most recently killed it in the combine and showed how good he really is. And I think not only is his football ability great, he's got good speed, he's got good athletic ability. And I believe at one stage, he did have a 7.8 second agility test, which is the 5th fastest in AFL history, and finished second in the 20-meter sprint with a 2.8 second sprint. Again, my fat ass would probably be able to run maybe, I don't know, 10 seconds in the 20-meter sprint. I don't know how this man's doing it in under 3, but that's flat out crazy. And just when you think the Gold Coast Suns couldn't get enough talent on this team, they're adding even more somehow. And again, I think Richmond will bid on this player decently early, could even bid on him with pick 6 or 7 that they're going to have as well. But again, I think they will bid on him at this pick, and the Gold Coast Suns will definitely match it. With the next pick, Richmond I've actually got them bidding on Isaac Keiko from Essendon, him being matched by them as well. I think Richmond are going to be a little bit of pests here and just try and bid on these academy type of players and make sure these teams, of course, do kind of suffer and don't get these players for cheap. Again, Isaac Keiko is probably the best small forward in this draft, the 175 centimeter, extremely quick player who is also very versatile, actually bases his game off Shea Bolton and seems to have expressed an interest to potentially evolve his game into playing some midfield as well. Again, Essendon, a team who looks to be going a lot younger, I think, next season, and is 100% going to be looking to, to add a small forward to pair with Jade Gresham, are going to be so obviously matching this pick pretty straight away. And for the 1 out of 1 million chance for some reason Essendon didn't, I mean, Richmond would get the small forward of their dreams. But let's be honest here, I'm just living in an absolute fairyland, and that is never going to happen. Essendon will match this pick. Again, now with the 14th overall pick, finally Richmond settle and they get their man. I've got them selecting 18th ranked player Joe Berry, who I think if someone is going to argue on who's the best small forward in this draft, if it's not Isaac Keiko, they are saying Joe Berry. He is a bit of a taller small forward at about 180 centimeters tall, but is an extremely fast, versatile player that Richmond desperately need to add to their team. Again, I think Richmond are just begging for a reliable small forward at this rate. They had Ryan Mansour, who kicked about a goal a game, and Seth Campbell play a bit of small forward and wing here and there as well. But outside of them, no reliable smalls. Rioli only played like a quarter of the games this year, or half the games, I think. And outside of that, yeah, you had Steely Green floating in there. It wasn't that pretty for Richmond. But the thing is, with a couple of the smalls the Tigers have had, is some of them are good at pressure, but then they can't kick goals. And then some of them can kick goals, but supply no pressure. Joe Barry's a guy who adds a lot of pressure and actually kicked 27 goals in 14 games, which is about an average of 2 per game, which is something Richmond would be killing to add to their squad. So I definitely feel like getting a small forward in this draft is probably a must for the Tigers, and I think they're going to do so with this 14th overall pick and add Joe Barry to the team. Again, now with the 15th overall pick, I've got the West Coast Football Club selecting Luke Traynor, who is the number 1 ranked key defender in this draft class. Again, I think with West Coast losing Tom Barrass, they're going to be looking to add probably a taller defender back there. And Jeremy McGovern, thank God he did finally get over those injuries, but he's still on the older side of things. And every second year a team comes knocking for him, and no one came knocking for him this year, so I wouldn't be surprised if a team came knocking for him next year. So again, they're going to be needing to, I think, add a tall defender, and you've got a 194 centimeter Sandringham Dragon here, obviously played in that flag. Very good contested defender. He actually missed the grand final with concussion, so it turns out he did not play in that flag. Again, some believe he can actually switch up forward, and he has switched up forward a couple times for Sandringham in the most recent season. But I think his career will be spent down back, and as I said, I think the West Coast Eagles are definitely going to be looking for one, and I think they have the chance here to pretty much get the best key back in this draft class. So I feel like they will capitalize on this decision. And look, I don't think they care about the going home factor. I don't think that is in play here. He is from Victoria, but you know what? You got to say screw it. Bring him in. I think it would be a really good pick for them. With this 16th overall pick now, we got Port Adelaide actually selecting Sam Marshall, and that pick being matched by the Brisbane Football Club. Sam Marshall, funnily enough, is a part of the Brisbane Academy, but is not living in Brisbane and playing for Sandringham right now. Again, this is one of the more confusing ones, but we'll move on from it. Again, the Brisbane Lions get another one of the top tier players in this draft. It's pretty interesting to say that Brisbane Football Club get the number 1 ranked player in this draft, which I've got going at number 2, I think I had him at, yeah. And then they also get another guy in the first round in Sam Marshall, who is heading towards Brisbane's midfield with Levi Ashcroft and Will Ashcroft already. Yeah, that is sickening to hear as an AFL fan who doesn't go for Brisbane. Again, in the grand final, this guy had 28 disposals and 2 goals and had a ton of people saying he was best on the ground. The fact that Brisbane are getting him, oh man, is crazy to think. And this team is probably poising themselves to go on realistically, a dynasty run if they really want to, because they're already dominating this draft, which is just crazy to think. Again, Port Adelaide now, they of course moved to pick 17, which I've got them selecting a halfback here in Toby Travaglia. I'm going to be honest here, I don't know how to say this guy's last name. I've heard about 1,800 different people say it, so I'm just going to call him Toby Maguire. I don't know. I like Spider-Man a lot. So, Toby Maguire or Toby Radagalia, Travis something, is one of the best halfbacks in this whole entire draft. He's actually ranked at the 11th overall pick, so I've got him sliding down to Brisbane in a steal that I think they're really, really going to like here. He actually finished second in the 2 kilometer, and considering Port Adelaide, of course, lost Dan Houston, and Jace Burgoyne really did play a role there. That was very good. I'm not sure if he'll go back to playing there next season or if he'll play on the wing. Either way, I think they are going to be looking for a halfback here. So getting a guy who can practically run all day is a very, very good sign. So I think this is also a steal for Port Adelaide, a genuine bolter, which is really good for them. That, again, having a guy ranked at 11 and getting him at 17 is really a positive thing for them. And I'm not sure if he'll be a Dan Houston replacement straight away, but it's definitely a step in the right direction. Pick 18, I've actually got the Fremantle Football Club selecting Bo Allen, who's a midfield / forward, but also spent a ton of time tagging for his team. Again, he is actually from Western Australia, so Freo get a guy here that they know is going to be in it for the long haul, unless for some reason he decided to request a trade to West Coast, but probably not. Again, I'm not too sure if Freo really have that tagger yet, and considering a lot of teams are having a designated tagger now, I think Freo could really use one here, and it really makes their midfield even better. I'm not sure if this guy will play straight away, but a midfield that already looks like Hayden Young, Angus Brayshaw, Caleb Sarong, now Shea Bolton, bits and pieces here and there. You can bring in a tagger here who can come in and shut down a guy if you really need him to, but can also, I think, evolve into being a really good midfielder / forward and also homegrown guy. So I think this makes sense and would be a good pick by Freo. Also is ranked number 12. So another bolter, another player who's fallen down in the draft. At pick number 19, I've got the GWS Football Club. I just think going best available. The number 15th ranked player in Taj Houghton here. Another Sandringham Dragon. That team was literally more stacked than the pancakes my fat ass ate a couple of days ago, which was like 8. Again, another midfielder / forward here who I think the GWS Giants could use, because even though they're probably looking to potentially bring in some backs as well, I think they will find that later on in the draft. They definitely need to just keep replenishing this list and keep adding to it. They lost James Peatling, an important midfielder for them last season. They've got a couple of those midfielders like Callum Ward now really getting up there in age too. So having a guy like Taj Houghton, who I think is best available, can come replace him. And with the 20th overall pick as well, a guy who's a bit of a riser for me, but I've actually got the Giants selecting Tom Gross. I think they might go back-to-back midfield here. Again, you get a midfielder / forward with the first pick, and now a wing with this pick. Again, they seem to have had it in control, with their wings for the most part. But I think Josh Kelly will be spending a ton more time on the ball this season. James Peatling, who played a tiny bit of wing, and I think Isaac Cumming played a tiny bit of wing here and there as well. Both of them are gone, so you're probably going to be looking to add in a guy like Tom Gross. And realistic thing is, he's more of a, I think, player who is going to develop over time. A player who I think a team like Richmond would be really interested in too. So even though he's ranked like, I think 27, I don't think he'll go that low. I think he's going to go much higher because teams like Richmond are going to be looking around him. So GWS can capitalize here and bring in 2 good young midfielders to come help and strengthen this football club. But again, if you haven't already, please make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Comment all of your thoughts and opinions down below on my official 2024 AFL mock draft. I'd very much like to know. Subscribe to my sports channel and my IRL / channels, my gaming and whatnot. Links to them will be in the description down below. After all, this is the sports channel. But yeah, I guess I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.